Hello, I'm Blaine Potter. I am the facility manager for the Gull Lake TRD, Gull Lake Landfill, Swift Current Landfill, Pincher Creek and Medicine Hat, partnered landfills, and I also look after the abandoned sites of Richmond, which was a TRD owned by New Alta, and Shawmut, which is a former New Alta TRD. Today we're going to go do a little video tour around the Gull Lake site, so we'll proceed out and do our safety orientations and give you a little chat about safety, and then we'll go on a tour. So here we are out and about. As you can see, winter come early to Saskatchewan. We're not supposed to have snow and minus double-digit temperatures at this time of year. But moving on to something that really matters. We're located centrally in the southwest Saskatchewan oil play. This gives us advantage to the production both north up towards Saskatchewan River and south down to the US border, and our area influence runs mainly from the Alberta border east to Swift Current. And if there's other projects going on further east, we capture that too. This facility has been here since 1993 was the original construction, and at that time it was CCS Energy Services, and I think we were one of the first ground up facilities. Over the years there have been a number of upgrades to the facility to keep up with customer needs and industry demands. All of us here at Gull Lake are very proud to work for Tervita, and we do take a lot of pride in the place we work and the people we work with. So before we go out into the plant, we need to stop for a moment here and just discuss the importance of safety. Tervita does care, and they care that all their employees come to work every day, have a great day at work, and go home safely to their family at night. Over the years, we've tried to standardize as much as we can throughout energy services, and if you've been to other facilities, you'll notice the common theme on our wall here with our safety board. This makes it easy when going from one site to another. When information is required, one just approaches that board. You know exactly where it is. If it's in the upper left-hand corner, it's a hazard ID, and so on and so forth. All facilities should have the same information contained in the same spots. As you can see, there's a section on the board titled Incident Reports. Recently, we had a serious incident at Gull Lake. It was a recordable. An operator was working inside of a tank and he bumped his hand against a mixer impaler. Not hard, didn't think much of it, and he ended up cutting his finger and required 6 stitches. As part of the HSE management system, we share these incident learnings with each other. By sharing them and not just correcting deficiencies at our own sites, we enable others to learn from our mistakes so that they don't repeat the same mistakes. Each day starts out with a pre-shift safety meeting. This gives the operators a chance to take a look at their day, see what they have planned and what hazards may arise. This information is shared with new operators coming on shift, throughout the day, and they have a chance to input, and it's a living document, so things change as they need to. The screen you're looking at here is our PLC. This gives the operators a real-time view of tank levels, injectivity information, and alarm screens as need be. There are various HMIs around the plant for operators to access at different areas, but this is the main point. So we're looking at our old tank farm here. This was part of the original construction back in 1993 with some modifications and additions along the way. This tank farm contains 8 tanks. There are 750 barrel emulsion tanks, a 750 centrifuge feed tank, and an 80 cubic meter freshwater tank that's tied to the town of Gull Lake's raw water line. So the 4 tanks on this side that we're looking at are our tank treating tanks. We have 4-inch steam coils in those. We heat them up, and then as you'll see later, we pump in demulsifier and polymer and roll tanks to do a tank treat. So we're looking at the 2 risers that service this tank farm. Load line 1 is our emulsion coming in, and load line 2 is for clean oil leaving site. The clean oil generally goes to Tabor. The black tanks are the 3 emulsion receipt tanks, and that is just a way for us to preheat our oil prior to transferring over to the treating tanks. These tanks were installed in 2014 to increase our emulsion throughput capabilities, as we were very tight for space at that time. Over to our water tank farm. This was a 2011 addition to the facility. Dramatically increased our injection capacity. We added a second pump and a second well to the facility. You're looking at our truck offload riser. There's 4 water risers there, and the bridge takes the injection line out to the edge of the facility before it goes underground and goes to our 3-of-1 well. So now we're up on top of the catwalk looking at the vapor collection system off of our waste tanks. This was in response to Saskatchewan government directive in 2016 requiring that 25% of a company's facilities were sealed each year over the next 4 years. Tervita Gull Lake was the first Tervita site in Saskatchewan to seal their tanks from atmosphere. I believe our system is unique. It's called a vapor collection system. It operates with a blower on negative pressure. So once a truck has made operator contact and identified the product he is hauling, he's told to proceed to an offload riser to unload. Here the truck hooks up his hose, establishes a good ground, and monitors his truck during the offload procedure. We're now going to enter the process building. This is where most of the fluid transfers in the facility are initiated and controlled from. Through a number of pipes, valves, pumps, fluid can be moved from one part of the facility to another part depending on operations needs. This is our polymer treating area for oil. It's a little bit unique to here. We measure demulsifier into totes, measure our polymer into a tank, hydrate it, and through some instrumentation we can sequence that product to be slipstreamed into our crude oil, minimizing operator contact time with those chemicals. This seems to work very well for us. It's not fancy, but it gets the job done. So proceeding through the process building, we're getting down to the injection end of things. We have 2 charge pumps here that supply 2 triplex injection pumps. They're older National 338s, but very reliable pumps. Currently we're only operating on 1 pump. We did have a second pump going to the 3-of-1 well, but that well is essentially locked up. It doesn't take a lot of fluid, and the needs in the industry are a little down for water disposal, so we're getting by with our 5-of-31 well, which takes 26 cubes an hour at about 14,000 kPa. This well's limestone formation and responds fairly well to acid, but over the last couple of acid jobs we've had to go to a foam assisted flow back to get the results we used to get with just straight acid injection. We do filter all of our injection fluids through 10 micron bags. We have a 14 bag system here, and it works very well. We're gonna now move on into our GCS building. As you can see, the tank is accessed from numerous different levels. We can sample at 3-foot intervals, and we can add to or pull off of these intervals as required, depending on the product that needs to be moved. GCS stands for gravity compression system. It's where we separate the phases of the incoming waste. In the tank, there are 4 heat coils, and this aids in separation by supplying heat to different levels of the tank. Through this system and valves and piping we're looking at, we can transfer from any level of that tank to any tank on the waste side of the facility, as well as to our water side of the facility. Over here is our GCS sample points. Moving outside the GCS tank, we got a scrubber out here, or part of our vapor collection system, and on the GCS tank it works purely on displacement. I know I'd mentioned earlier that the rest of them were on negative pressure system, but this tank is, as fluid goes in, it displaces the air out and it's scrubbed for odors prior to release to atmosphere. Walking over to the water tank farm. This is the back end of our vapor collection system for the waste tanks. The blower that you can see in the picture pulls negative pressure off all the tanks. Fluid is brought down through a knockout, so any vapor contained in the fluid is knocked out, then it's rubbed through a scrubbing media, which takes out the volatile organic compounds and odors, and then it is pushed out to atmosphere. Okay, we're now on the Gull Lake South receiving pad. This is where the vac trucks will back up, and we do single lane offloads. They will back to the hopper, hook up to a sealed line to offload product. After the fluid has been offloaded, the trucks will lower their hoist, proceed out past the shaker building, and they can dump the residual solids onto the pad there prior to a washout back at the hopper. This is the area where our centrifuge solids land, and also where we would wash solids out of the truck. So it looks like we got a vac truck here unloading. I'm going to pass it over to one of my operators, Baum, to explain the offload process.
So here we have a truck that's been backed onto the pad. The hoist is lifted, and as you can see, the offload hose is hooked up to the truck and hooked up to our sealed offload system. This reduces any volatile organic compounds being exposed to the operator during the offload process. While the fluid is offloaded, the operator will collect a sample, and after the samples have been cut, they will be labeled, cataloged, and stored for 3 months as per regulatory requirement. After all the fluid has been offloaded of the truck into the hopper and into our GCS tank, the operator will lift the cover and begin the washout phase. During this, the door will be opened. Safety bar is installed to eliminate a crush hazard from vac truck door failure. Because we care, we submitted this best practice and it has been mandated as a company-wide best practice. The operator continues to wash out any remaining solids or fluids from the truck before the hoist is lowered and the area is cleaned, and the door will be closed. Once the truck is done washing out, the operator will clean the area and prepare it for the next truck.
Okay, heading up the stairs to the shaker / centrifuge building. This is where the mechanical separation of our solids and fluids takes place. First of all, loads with a lot of solids are run over the shaker. This scalps off the grass, garbage, rocks, sand, before it goes to the centrifuge feed tank. Once the centrifuge feed tank, that flow comes back to our centrifuge. It's pumped through. Polymer is added to the fluid prior to entering the centrifuge. This additionally helps the solids separate from the fluids. Once inside the centrifuge, the fluid is subjected to tremendous G-force, which flings the solids to the outside. The fluids go out the wet end of the centrifuge, solids go out the other end into an auger and onto the pad. Fluids go back to the GCS tank, where further separation from oil from water takes place. So this is our solids pad that trucks leave solids on, and our centrifuge as well. In past, Tervita's experienced a number of solids pad fires, and by sharing our learnings, we have switched our cutting edges to rubber to try to reduce the likelihood of sparking on gravel or with a metal cutting blade. Okay, finally we're into the boiler building. Boiler provides all the necessary heat to the facility for separation and building heat. We run a low pressure system in Gull Lake, which eliminates the need to have a full-time power engineer on site. You see our RO water system over there against the wall. We don't have good feedstock water, so all our water goes through an RO system prior to being introduced into the steam system. And we have 2 freshwater tanks there with RO water in them, because when we call for makeup, we just need to have that supply. So Gull Lake's one of the few locations that have a landfill on site. We're unique that way, and it's definitely an asset. So the initial build of landfills was Cell 1. This was constructed in 2001, it was finished in 2004, capped in 2005. Still produces a minimal amount of leachate. We then purchased additional land to build the next set of industrial landfill cells to service the oil and gas industry, and then they became industrial as Saskatchewan MOE broadened their scope. So we can take industrial waste as well as oil field waste, as long as it is non-hazardous, into this cell. Slopes are maintained at 3-to-1 in Gull Lake. We have a leachate vault, which we're approaching right now. I believe this is also fairly unique. There's submersible pumps in a collection vault. It's monitored through our PLC system and pipelined back to the facility through a meter before it reaches our waste side. So as you can see from our tour, I'm proud to work for the company I work for. I enjoy working for Tervita, and I especially enjoy the people I work with here at Tervita. I've been connected with this company for 27 years now, since Dave Workland initially turned dirt on this site in 1993. The land was my dad's, he purchased it from him at that time. So, I've had that connection farming around the facility. I know how they operate. I know that they care about the environment and the landowners adjacent to their sites. In 2004, I started to work as an operator for Tervita, and then in 2011, I moved away to Arcola as a facility manager. That lasted for a couple of years, and I returned to Gull Lake in 2013, and did a lot of traveling, and I was treated very well, and yeah, life was good. And then I got the opportunity to buy the old homestead back, so now I am a neighbor of Tervita. I live across the road, so I have a perspective that not many people have. I see this place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 20 odd years, and it makes me proud to be a part of what we do, how we do it, and the results that we achieve. I hope you enjoyed your tour and come on back again.